Over the past few days, Britain has experienced serious rioting in London and some other large cities. Riots like these are not entirely new. Over past decades there have been a number. But the recent riots have been much more serious and the looting and damage caused much greater and more widespread. Many people are shocked, but such behaviour is not surprising. It is the inevitable consequence of the failure of the liberal secular humanist worldview that has come to dominate British society. This is because secular humanism cannot provide the stable moral values that are necessary to produce social cohesion. But the social chaos and disintegration that follows the triumph of secular ideals that we are now experiencing is not new. It has happened before. Along with debasement of currency, debasement of language, debasement of standards in education, politics and other social institutions, the debasement of morals is all part of the end of any great civilization that has abandoned the religious values upon which it was originally built. Ancient Rome faced the same problems. 80 years ago, the historian Christopher Dawson described the Roman Empire as the greatest experiment in secular civilization that the world had ever seen. He also described it as a failure. Rome tried to appease the mobs with bread and circuses. But our own culture has now adopted secularism on a scale far greater than that of Rome, and it is clear that our own equivalent of Rome's bread and circuses, the benefit system, will not appease the insatiable underclass that now demands so much of our social and economic resources and gives nothing productive back in return. What is now clear is that our secular idealists and politicians have no answer for what is happening. They have no answer because they do not understand the problem. And as a result, their only response will be to kowtow to the idols of the secular humanist religion that has brought us to this chaotic situation in the first place. The question we must ask, therefore, is this: who or what can and will provide an alternative to the collapsing secular humanist society that we see around us? In ancient Rome, that alternative was provided by the Christian Church. As Roman society collapsed into chaos, the growing church provided an alternative social order to the collapsing Roman social order. This is why Rome hated the Christians. They constituted an alternative social order to that of Rome itself, an imperium in imperio, that is to say, a state within a state. This was a direct challenge to the Roman social order. In the persecutions, the Christians were charged with and put to death for treason against Rome. But the church survived and thrived and eventually conquered Rome because she constituted an alternative social order, an alternative society to that of Rome. In doing this, the church provided the social foundations for Western civilization, not completely and not perfectly, but substantially. Without the social order that was the church, Western society would have been very different. Our own secular order is now collapsing into anarchy. The incompetent and morally corrupt governments of Western nations are not able to meet and answer this challenge. The liberalism at the heart of our secular culture has failed. It is a shifting sand that cannot support society morally, spiritually or intellectually. The church, therefore, must begin to function as an alternative social order to the collapsing social order of secular humanism, and thereby provide the model for the restoration and rebuilding of our society. Social anarchy will not last, it never does. Something or someone will replace it. History shows that without the influence of the Christian religion, that something or someone will be authoritarian and totalitarian. The nation must choose. Will the regime that replaces the present and coming social anarchy be an authoritarian ideology, or a new Christian society, a new Christian social order. The Lord Jesus Christ commanded his church to disciple the nations, that is to say, to bring the nations into covenant with God. The early Christians took this commission seriously and they conquered Rome. Not by might of arms, but by providing an alternative Christian social order that displaced and then replaced the dying social order of Rome. We must do the same. It is Christ's command. It is what we are here to do, and with God's help, we will succeed. Thank you.